Okay, so you wanted to know more about the AI scene in Chiang Mai, right?
Sounds fascinating.
Well, get this. We're about to take a deep dive into a YouTube video transcript that'll give us a first-hand look at that world. Like, we're practically stepping right into it.
Ooh, front row seats to the AI action.
Exactly. And our guide for this deep dive is none other than Chris Smith.
Chris Smith, I've heard that name.
Yeah, he's a longtime Chiang Mai expat who's been super into AI for like 2 years now. He's been exploring it since the beginning.
Okay, so he's been around the block a time or two in the AI world.
You could say that.
Yeah.
He even started a weekly group in Chiang Mai called, get this, Chiang Mai Geeks.
Chiang Mai Geeks, what a perfect name. So what's this video we're diving into?
So it's actually a recording of a presentation he gave at the Chiang Mai Expat Club meeting back on July 27th.
And he was talking about AI at this meeting.
Oh yeah, he dove deep. But first, to kind of break the ice, he started off by asking everyone a really interesting question. He's like, if you had to describe AI in just 3 words, what would they be?
Ooh, good question. What'd they say?
Okay, so some of the answers were spot on, like Google on steroids, which, I mean, that really gets at that idea of AI's massive information processing power, right?
Totally.
And then someone else said rapid information processing.
Yeah.
So you can already tell that people are picking up on just how fast AI can analyze and spit back information.
Yeah, the speed is definitely a huge factor. So Google on steroids and rapid information processing. What else?
Others said scary, danger, even 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Whoa, okay, so definitely some mixed feelings about AI in that room. Some excitement, but also some fear, huh?
Right. Which, I mean, it's understandable. AI has the potential to completely change everything.
No doubt.
And Chris addressed that head on. He said that, yeah, AI is still really new. Like, he compared it to a kindergartner just starting to learn.
Okay, so still in its early stages.
Exactly. But, and this is but he emphasized that AI is learning and changing incredibly fast. Like, way faster than a kindergartner.
That's kind of a scary thought.
Right. And to really highlight how fast things are moving, he pointed to the shift from our good old search engines, like Google, to what he called answer engines.
Answer engines, what's the difference?
So it's like this. With traditional search engines, we type in a few words and hope for the best, right? But AI is changing that whole dynamic. It can actually figure out what we're really asking and give us direct answers like we're having a conversation.
Wow, so instead of just throwing keywords at Google, we're going to be having back and forths with it.
That's the idea.
Makes you wonder how that's going to change how we learn and find information in the future, right?
For sure. And get this, to really drive home the power of AI, Chris didn't just talk about it, he actually showed it in action.
Okay, now we're talking. Examples are always the best. What did he do?
One that blew me away was this photo of his late in-laws. He used AI to not only make the photo super clear, but he also made it look like they were moving.
Wow, seriously. He brought an old photo to life with AI.
He did. And he said his young niece, who never even got to meet them, she saw the photo and thought it was, like, magical.
That's really sweet. It shows you how AI can connect us to the past in such a powerful, emotional way.
Exactly. Yeah. But Chris's presentation wasn't just about nostalgia and personal stories. He wanted people to really get their hands dirty with AI and start using it themselves. So that's where his deep dive into AI tools and resources came in.
Okay, now for the practical stuff. What kind of tools did he recommend?
Well, he made a point of highlighting a bunch of free ones that anyone can use, like Claude, U.com, and Bing. He really wanted to stress that you don't need to pay an arm and a leg for a subscription to start exploring AI.
I love that he emphasized accessibility. Everyone should have the opportunity to try these things out, not just tech experts.
Exactly. And you can do some pretty amazing things with these free tools.
Like what?
Chris gave examples of creating your own music for a party, identifying any plant in your garden just by snapping a picture, even getting help with everyday tasks from AI assistants.
AI assistants. Now that sounds futuristic.
Right. He even mentioned one called Pi that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's amazing how quickly technology goes from science fiction to reality these days.
Tell me about it. And speaking of amazing things happening in the tech world, remember that group Chris leads, the Chiang Mai Geeks?
Oh yeah, the group he started.
They're all about diving headfirst into all these cool new technologies, especially AI.
So they must have been really interested in his presentation.
They were all there. In fact, towards the end of the talk, another programmer, Howard, who also lives in Chiang Mai, he popped in just to give Chris and the Chiang Mai Geeks a shout out.
Sounds like a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
So Tell me more about this Chiang Mai Geeks group. What kind of stuff goes down at their meetings?
Well, they meet every Tuesday, and they're not afraid to get into the weeds on some pretty complex topics, from what I've heard.
So not just surface level stuff then, and they're specifically focused on AI.
It's a pretty broad range of tech topics, but they seem to have a sweet spot for AI. It's like their bread and butter.
I like it. So what else did we learn about these Chiang Mai Geeks?
Well, they have this little catchphrase. Another Deep Geeks meeting is in the can. They seem to say it at the end of every meeting.
Another Deep Geeks meeting is in the can. I kind of love it. It sounds like a fun group of people, not just a bunch of serious techies.
Oh, definitely not. They seem to have a good time with it, which is really what it's all about.
For sure. It shouldn't feel like a chore to learn about this stuff. And it seems like Chris really embodies that philosophy too.
Totally. Did you know he's been a member of that Chiang Mai Expat Club for ages?
Oh yeah. How long we talking?
Well, in the video, someone mentioned he has one of the first membership cards.
Wow, so he was there from the very beginning.
Pretty much. Membership number 21, can you believe it?
That's dedication. He clearly loves being part of that community.
He definitely does. And speaking of sharing knowledge and being part of the community, Chris didn't just stop at the AI tools. He went on to talk about some really fascinating applications of AI that he's been experimenting with, Ada. He was really excited about this one thing, AI-generated music. Like, you can use AI to create original music. He even played a sample of a track he made.
No way. What kind of music? Like, what genre?
Well, it's interesting because he'd been talking about using AI to identify plants in his garden, right?
Yep.
So he actually used that search to create the music. The AI took his search terms and generated music based on that. Pretty wild, huh?
Whoa. Okay, so the AI is pulling inspiration from the plant world. That's pretty creative. What did it sound like, though?
It was really cool, actually, like kind of atmospheric, not exactly something you'd hear on the radio, but definitely interesting.
I can imagine. It's amazing how AI can be used for creative purposes like that, right? Like composing original music. It makes you think about all the possibilities for artists and musicians.
Right. And he didn't stop at music. Chris also got into talking about AI and robotics, which, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms.
That's where things get really interesting, but also maybe a little bit scary. Robots and AI combined have such huge implications.
Totally. But putting aside those big questions for a minute, the point is AI is definitely here to stay. And, it's only going to become a bigger part of our lives moving forward.
Absolutely. It's like we're already using it in so many ways without even realizing it, and that's just the beginning.
Exactly. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what was your biggest takeaway from Chris's talk? Was there anything that really surprised you or that you found particularly interesting?
That's a good question. I think I was most struck by just how much he emphasized the accessibility of all these AI tools.
Right.
Like, he went out of his way to show everyone that you don't need to be a tech whiz or spend a ton of money to start experimenting with AI.
Right. Those free tools he mentioned. It's like he wants to empower anyone and everyone to jump in and give it a try.
Exactly. And that's what I found so refreshing. It's not about keeping AI locked away in some exclusive club. It's about making it accessible to everyone.
Totally. And he also did a really good job, I thought, of presenting both sides of the coin. Like, he talked about the amazing things AI can do, but also acknowledged that there are some potential downsides.
Yeah, he didn't shy away from the scary stuff, which is important. We need to be having those conversations about the ethics of AI, especially as it becomes more powerful.
100%. And, it's easy to get caught up in all the hype, but he kept bringing it back to this point that AI is still so new.
Right. It's easy to forget that.
Like he said, it's only been publicly available for 2 years.
Really? Just 2 years?
Yeah, it feels longer, right?
It does. So much has happened in that short time frame. It makes you wonder where we'll be in another 2 years.
Seriously. And it's not slowing down. So much to learn and explore. Speaking of, Chris shared a ton of different resources during his talk, right? We're talking platforms for image generation, text-to-speech, music creation.
Don't forget the plant identifier.
Oh, yeah. He covered a lot of ground.
He really highlighted the diverse range of applications for these tools, but he also talked about the importance of choosing them carefully, like not just jumping on the bandwagon of every new AI platform that pops up.
Especially when so many of them want you to sign up for a subscription.
Exactly. He even cautioned against those, saying to stick with the free ones, at least for now.
Which is good advice because a lot of those paid platforms are pretty pricey. And honestly, you could do so much with what's already out there for free.
Right. You don't need to break the bank to start exploring.
Exactly. And that's something we really want to emphasize here.
Yeah.
This deep dive, it's just a jumping off point.
Right, like a taste of what's possible.
We've given you a glimpse into this world of AI, but it's really up to you to go out there and keep exploring.
Totally. There's a whole universe of AI tools and resources out there. The best thing to do is just pick something that interests you and dive in.
Exactly. And hey, if you're ever in Chiang Mai, you could always check out the Chiang Mai Geeks.
Yeah, why not? Sounds like they're having a blast over there.
They are. Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one last thought. Remember those cool images that Chris showed off? The ones created by the Chiang Mai Geeks using AI.
You mean the ones from their weekend trip?
Yeah, exactly. He talked about how AI can take, like, a written description and turn it into a real-looking photo.
Oh, yeah, AI image generation. It's crazy what they can do these days.
Right. But he also pointed out how sometimes those AI-generated images have, like, little inconsistencies.
He called them hallucinations, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the AI gets a little confused or something.
That example he gave with the image of the person with too many arms.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird, right?
Definitely makes you do a double take.
It's like a fun little challenge trying to spot those AI tells in images.
It really makes you realize that you can't always believe what you see online.
Exactly. But even with those little glitches, it's still mind-blowing that AI can create these incredibly realistic images out of thin air.
Right. Like, how does it even do that?
It's like magic or something.
Well, it's not magic, it's algorithms and data, but it definitely feels like magic sometimes.
It totally does. It makes you wonder about the future of art and photography, Like, is AI going to replace artists?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I don't think there's an easy answer.
No, definitely not. But no matter what happens, I think it's important to remember that art is all about, like, human expression.
100%.
Even if AI can create a technically perfect image, it's still us humans who give it meaning.
Exactly. It's the emotions, the stories, the connections that really matter. And those are things that AI can't replicate, at least not yet.
Well said. Speaking of stories, what a wild ride this deep dive has been.
I know, right? We've covered so much ground.
We've gone from the basics of AI all the way to, like, the future of art, music, even robotics.
And we've learned so much from Chris Smith.
Right. He's definitely a wealth of knowledge when it comes to AI.
And his passion is contagious.
Totally. So, as we wrap up, we have a little challenge for you, our listeners.
Ooh, I like it. What's the challenge?
What are you going to do with all this new knowledge about AI?
Will you try out one of those free AI tools Craig mentioned?
Will you dive deeper into a topic that piques your interest?
Will you seek out an AI community in your area?
The possibilities are pretty much endless.
The most important thing is to just start exploring.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll let you get to it. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of AI.
Until next time.